good morning, Calvary. Thanks for checking in on today's Facebook Devo. I want to talk to you today from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 32, about taking a step of faith. Sometimes people think that our faith is what empowers us to change our circumstances, and I'm just telling you that's usually not what happens. What faith does is gives us the ability to obey God and do what He wants because we know He's in charge of all of our circumstances. So that's what the book of Jeremiah is about. It's a long book, frankly, that most people have never read because it's long, painful, and complicated. But here's the thing, Jeremiah is also amazing, authoritative, and beautiful. And I hope you'll read it sometime if you never have. The whole book sums up basically in 2 points: warnings of judgment and promises of hope. God was about to bring punishment on the nation of Israel for generations of idolatry and sin, but there was also promises of hope that God's plan was not done. This was not the end of the book. This was the end of a chapter, and more would come. So chapter 32 is right in the middle of a few chapters that give particular hope and promises of what God is going to do. And God asked Jeremiah to do something very strange. He tells Jeremiah, your cousin is going to come and want to sell you a piece of property, and I want you to buy that property. Now here's why that is so strange. At the time, Jeremiah is in prison. See, Jeremiah had told the king, there's going to be a war, you're going to lose it, you're going to get hauled away, this city's going to be destroyed, and the king did not want to hear it. Frankly, it was bad publicity. So he decided that Jeremiah must be a traitor, and he had him locked up. So Jeremiah is buying property while he's actually in prison. It gets worse. Not only is Jeremiah in prison, but the very army that he told the king was going to lose to, the Babylonians, the Babylonian army is right outside the city walls. They're literally making plans for how they're going to conquer the city and destroy it. So you need to know, while God's saying, you're going to go buy a piece of property, property values are crashing. People are freaked out. The countryside's being destroyed. And pretty soon the Babylonians are going to decide who owns what, when, and where. And God still says, you're going to go and buy a piece of property. And Jeremiah did it. Now, why did he do this? Because this was not just about Jeremiah's business. This was about God's message. This property purchase was going to be like an acted out parable because the message of the Lord was, yes, this city will be destroyed. Yes, these people will be hauled away, but God's work is not done. There'll be a day when God brings people back to this city. There'll be a day when this city is rebuilt. There'll be a day when people are doing business and selling homes and building property. And God says, best of all, God said He would be their God and they would be His people. So this whole property purchase for Jeremiah was not just a business proposition. It just wasn't about what profits he might make on it down the road. The issue is going to be God's faithfulness and Jeremiah's obedience to live out that story to the people of Jerusalem who desperately needed hope. So why do I bring this to you today? Because churches always have to live on faith. Not only are we individually changed as we obey God and trust His commands, but whole churches are. Whole churches have opportunities to take a step of faith. So why am I here near the Walker School? Because in back of me is a garage, and on that location for many decades, Calvary Church sat. It was a small white church that was plenty adequate for the people who God had gathered at that time, but there came a day when that facility wasn't adequate anymore, and that group of believers had a big decision to make. They believed they knew what God wanted to do. It looked like a huge challenge, but they stepped out in faith, and because of that, our church has been located for the last 30 years over on Oberly Loop. I'll give you another example. This is the financial roster from Calvary Church from 1939. If you open it up, the Sunday morning offering, January 1st, 1939, was $7.75. That was the whole church offering. See, this church was founded in the middle of the Great Depression, and they were on this location right before World War II was about to start. Can you imagine the kind of faith that took for that small group of Jesus followers to say, we believe God is leading us to plant a new congregation. We don't know what the future holds. We're not in control of the circumstances, but we know what God has called us to, and they stepped forward in faith. And folks, that is why Calvary Church is here today in Walker, Minnesota. So you know what? Our church is at another kind of crossroads. We're in these crazy pandemic circumstances that are out of our control. The economy is all over the market. Politics is all over the place. But here's what I want you to know. Our faith doesn't give us the ability to control our circumstances. Our faith gives us the ability to follow God and do what He wants. And that's what I hope for all of us individually and for our church as a whole congregation, that we'll see these very uncertain days as a great time to follow Christ, make disciples, and live by faith. Take care, God bless, and have a great day.